I'm sharing another TikTok dress DIY dupe today. This one has been all over my feed, so grab your pattern and sew along with me. As usual, first we cut out the pieces. You will need 2 mirrored front bodice pieces in the main fabric and lining, 2 mirrored back pieces in main and lining, and a front skirt and back skirt, and they're cut on the fold. Don't forget to cut out the notches on the bodice pieces and clip into the fabric at the placement marks on the bodice and skirts. These notches and marks will help a lot during construction. First, we're going to sew the shoulder seams. Place the main fabric front and back bodice pieces right sides together, and then you're going to sew along the shoulder edges. Since this is a lined bodice, you don't need to finish the seams. Now do the same thing with the lining pieces. Next, we'll sew the arm openings and neckline. Place the main fabric and lining pieces right sides together and sew along the neckline and the arm openings. Next step is sewing the front and back seams. Turn one bodice piece right side out and place both bodice pieces the same way. Now slide the right side out bodice inside the inside out bodice through the shoulder seam and out the other side and line up all the raw edges. You'll use those pattern notches in the next step. First, make sure the right sides of the main fabric is still facing each other, and so is the lining fabric. Check that on both ends. Then line up the notches on the back bodice and the seam in between. Then sew from the outer edge of one notch across the seam to the outer edge of the other notch. You'll repeat that with the front notches. Make sure you trim off the notches while you sew. This is what it will look like when it's sewn. You can then turn the bodice right side out. Next are the side seams. First, separate the back bodice main fabric and lining. Then do the same on the front and place the main fabric right sides together and lining right sides together and sew down the side edge. And you'll repeat this on the other side. Turn the bodice right sides out again and baste the bottom. Make sure you use a sewing machine instead of a serger to baste so you don't lose your little clip marks. And you can set the bodice aside for now. Let's work on the skirt. Place the skirt pieces right sides together and sew along the side edges. You'll need to finish those seams. Then we'll go ahead and get the hemming out of the way. To hem, you'll fold the bottom edge back a 1/2 inch towards the wrong side of the fabric. Then you'll fold it back another 1/2 inch and sew as close as you can to that top fold. Everyone says I hem backwards because I hem wrong side up, but I just want to get as close to the top fold as I can. Does anyone else do this, or am I the only one? As always, if your hem gets a little wavy, just press it with a little steam. Next is gathering the skirt. When you do your gathering stitch, you will run it from the mark on the back skirt around the side to the mark on the front skirt. You can gather it as instructed in the pattern, or you can be lazy like me and bump up the tension on your machine and lengthen the stitch, and it will gather it for you. I always break my bobbin thread when I gather the other way. Anyway, now you'll pin the skirt to the bodice right sides together, starting with the peak on the back skirt, lined up with the center seam of the back bodice and the front peak of the skirt with the center of the front bodice. Then match up the clipped marks and pin the gathering in between, matching up the side seams. Once it's pinned in place, you can sew all the way around, connecting the bodice to the skirt. Sewing the peaks can be a little annoying for beginners, but just sew up to the peak, making sure all the fabric is laying flat. Then put your needle down, lift up your presser foot, and rotate the fabric. You can then use a tweezers to pull the peak a little so you can lay the fabric flat again and sew down the other side of the peak. It may look a little wonky on the inside, but it'll be okay when you're wearing it, I promise. It just takes a little practice. And now your dress is complete. This was an early prototype that ended up a few inches too short, but I'll just wear it with tights and an undershirt for fall. Keep in mind that I designed this to be a dupe of the viral dress, so the fit is oversized and comfortable, and it can be layered. If you want the bodice to be skin tight and have bust support, this might not be the intended fit for you, but I have lots of other fitted patterns on my site. Thank you so much for watching today, and stay tuned for the next video where I show you how to add pockets to this and any other dress.